I'm Anna.
I'm Ben.
We're AutoSave. Welcome to our channel.
Today we're watching Oshi No Ko Season 2, Episode 3. Last episode, Abiko took on the role of being a screenwriter for the stage round play. We'll see how it goes. I have trust in her and belief in her. She's very successful, but I liked Goa a lot and hope that at some point in this season, they're able to be a little bit more collaborative together to bring this stage round play to life.
Right. I feel like Goa, my interpretation of the last episode, Goa was screwed over quite a bit. I feel like Abiko Sensei doesn't really necessarily know exactly how well Goa actually knows the material, because what she saw, I don't think was the best example of what he felt and the love he had toward Tokyo Blade. And so I am hopeful. I guess I'm not hopeful that Abiko fails, but I'm hopeful that there is a sense of, I want this to be the best it possibly can be. I have written my manga. Scripts is a different format. Fitting it into a short amount of hours is a different format. Having someone with experience on my side working together would be the best for the outcome of Tokyo Blade.
Yeah.
That's what I'm hoping for.
I think Abiko's lack of experience within this specific industry of stage round plays definitely lended itself to the misunderstanding of the line of communication, which gave her that false, identity of Goa. Yeah, I think that had a lot to do with it. I'm hopeful though.
I am also hopeful. We're gonna go see a show.
Yeah.
I don't know if we'll actually get to see it. I'm kind of hopeful that we do, because it's also like a date. Like, we're kind of witnessing a date.
Yeah. You ready?
Yeah.
Sweet. Whoa! Hell yeah!
Congratulations.
That's fair.
Someone who doesn't do anything.
俳優の堂山くんから DM で食事に誘われたとか軽率に話したい。
Brag.
それは自慢やろ。バレた。ちゃんの話は次元が違う。あの人遊んでるって話、そこかしこで聞くし。堂山くんから DM 来たって言っとったな。
The conversation is escaping you.
もっと仕事ちょうだい。私も同業者に愚痴言えるくらい仕事何を言ってるのかわからないんだけど。
She wants to be able to complain.
じゃあピエヨンさんにコラボお願いしてみる？コラボ動画もいいけど、またライブとか。有馬さんの舞台が終わるまでライブは無理よ。わかりそうな感じだし。まあ終わったの？正確に言えば休止。原作者の先生とスタッフがってね。下手したら何週間かと思っちゃうかも。
She always looks so cute.
マジ？お兄ちゃんは？
On a date.
On a date. The rascal.
チケット取れてよかったよ。結構人気の舞台だからさ。見てのお楽しみ。
Oh, I'm so excited.
I like that she's like in disguise.
Do you think Aqua's gonna feel the magic?
I hope so.
Yeah, it's a 40
yeah!
experience, baby.
It's that they're so dynamic. Whew. Look at him!
The atmosphere. That's all I needed to see.
Just them like all together with their paddles.
まあ正直言うと想像の50倍面白かった。
Let's go!
まず幕がモニターなのに驚いた。劇に映像演出をふんだんに使用できる。客席が360度回転したことだ。
Oh,
あらかじめ舞台そのものをいくつか準備して
that's so cool.
変化を素早くシームレスに行える。
演劇の抱える構造的制約は
良かったのは施設だけじゃない。舞台そのものもすごく良かった。演出も映像
Oh, look at how happy she is!
そうばかりで。それが刺さるから役者の演技にも不思議とストーリーもかなりの出来だし。
He's kind of flustered.
めっちゃ良かった。茜が体験
Like how she keeps getting lower.
意味が分かった。確かにこれは
Oh my god, she's getting redder too. Getting to talk about your love with someone else.
だってアクアくんに演劇楽しんでアクアくんならこの良さ分かってもらえると思ってた。 ここは日本にある中で最も豪華な劇場の一つで、他の演劇はアクア君が思ってた従来のものも多い。
This is what you shoot for.
物理的課題を創意工夫でクリアしていってるところもまた魅力でね。
What a great line.
これをきっかけに演劇の楽しみ方を分かってもらえたら嬉しいな。
ちょっとは前向きに。
そ
Hey.
れでいいと思う。アクア君はもともと映像の人だし。
いやいやご両人。
ライダさん。
どうして
Takes
ここ
marketing images
そ
and
う
them
してっ
together.
てこの舞台は僕の
Wow.
顔だからね。出ていく客の顔を見るのさ。客の顔は素直だ。時は笑顔だし。
Their faces tell the
いまいち
truth.
だった時はすまし顔。見てたらやる気につながるからさ。
Rightfully so.
アクア君の顔は良かったな。おじさん嬉しくなっちゃったよ。
どんな顔してたの？もう
Do it
一
again.
回してよ。
嫌だ。ライダさん、脚本の件大丈夫なんですか？
Let's hear.
Ooh.
うん。今日も出版社側とやり合ってきたんだけど、楽なみたいでね。
I think we got
脚本
that.
のゴア君は降りてくれと。先生直々に脚本を書き直すと言って。
無理ですよね。今日の劇を見て思いました。
Wow.
東京ブレイドの脚本は風が組み込まれてた。
She doesn't even has she even gone to one of these
こ
shows?
の箱なら入
Or the
る。
venue that it's going to be
おそらく
hosted
原
at.
作者は高校の体育館でやることを想定した脚本が上がってきますよ。今日の舞台は脚本と装置が高レベルに噛み合った
Yeah.
プロの仕事だった。漫画家とはいえ、舞台脚本の素人にあのレベルのものが作れるはずがない。
まあその辺はこっちがフォローするけどね。気づいてる？今日の舞台の脚本もゴア君が書いてたんだよ。
Wow.
優秀なんだよ彼は。
Yeah, he
演
is.
劇が心から好きで勉強熱心
God.
で。
That's why he felt so bad telling Goa
嬉しい。
that he had to.
彼が書いた脚本の舞台はニコニコでホールから出ていく。
どうにもならないんですか？
厳しいよ。大手出僕らは強くないからね。
でも、どうにかできるのはライダさんだけですよ。
それはそうなんだけどね。
The fact that Goa wrote the script for that show.
ゴアさんの脚本に不満がないと言ったら嘘になるけど、全体的に見たらいい脚本だと思うから従ってたのに。
原作者にも脚本家にも主張がある。
Yeah.
問題はそこに存在するディスコミュニケーションだ。より良い舞台になる可能性すらある。今日はいい舞台見せてもらったしな。感動台に
Light on.
ちょっと小づくくらいはしておくか。
Yes.
Yes. Was that Yoriko that he was gonna call? Yes.
みんないらっしゃい。
I am
す
so
みません
excited.
私京アマとは関係ない。漫画家さんのお家って初めてです。
俺も初め。
Ooh.
何度か遊びに行ったことある。へえ、すごいね。書くんですか？これ液タブって言って
Think it's a
モニター
Cintiq?
に直接書けるん
Looks like a
ですよ。
Cintiq.
漫画家さんってすごいっすよね。んでやるんですから。
そうね。
Oh no.
先生俺に塩対応じゃね
って思ったけど、みんないくつだっけ？
16
です。
17。
収録。
死にたくなってきた。ごめん。じゃあ私だけ行かせてもらうわ。ゴアさんに助け舟を出すって話だと。
We just gotta get her really drunk.
それがどうして先生のところに遊びに来ることにつながるの？
っている人が前言ってたんだ。一度売れた創作者ってのは大体自分が一番実力があると思ってるって。編集の言うことなんて聞かなくなるし、子持ちばかりになって助言を聞こうともしなくなる。
Mm.
もう聞き入れるのは同業者。それが
And
先
she
輩だ
was
し
the assistant of her
シ
mentor.
ョーをインと欲すればまず馬をいいよ。以降説得できるのはこの人しかいない。
なるほど。お忙しい中ありがとうございます。いやまあ、私は月間だから。
アビコ先生はやっぱり来られない感じですか？
まあ、向こうは習慣だからね。
Jeez. Can you imagine how grueling that is?
原稿の合間を縫って無理やり時間を作ってきたくらいで。
And now she's
基本的に週刊連
rewriting.
載って人間のやる仕事じゃないから。
Yeah, for real.
週刊用にチューンナップされた兵士がやる仕事
Seriously.
だからデートしてる時でもネームのこと考えちゃう人しか務まらないのよ。アビコ先生は今特に忙しいでしょうね。カラーイラストの仕事だとか監修物だとかが
Wow.
山のようにあるでしょうし。アビコ先生とは
You didn't even think
昔
about
からのお
product
友達
supervision.
なんですか？京アマの時うちでアシスタントしてたのよね。あんまり人と馴染むのが得意じゃなくて、ただ漫画は多弁。漫画を読めば作者がどういう人間なのか大体わかるのよ。大体絵でわかるわ。 どういうところにこだわってアビコ先生の漫画を読んですぐ分かったわ。やいたいけどそれができずに苦しんでる子だって。まあその後サクッと
I
終
love
盤
that
で
they're right
連載
next
決
to
まっ
each other.
てトントン拍子で売れっ子になって一瞬で追い抜かれていって、自分の意見が絶対だと思ってる感じ出てるのよね。
編集さんとかは注意しないんですか？
編集の仕事って2つあるの。なんだと思う？
売れる漫画を作らせること。
正解。
2つ目はなんだろう。
セリフ入れるとか。
売れた漫画を終わらせないこと。
Ah,
ドル
money.
箱連載を終わらせたら査定に響く。まあ終わらせてくれない。作家のメンタルケアも仕事に含まれるわけ。
I don't know if those two things cross
さま
over.
ざまな作家のベビーシッターみたいなことをする羽目になる。
Babysitters. Okay.
こっちは忙しいんです。こんなのやりません。
忙しさを言い訳にして破綻した振る舞いをしがちになる。
Prone to erratic behavior.
身に覚えがありすぎて死にたくなってきてます。周りにイエスマンしかいないと本当にダメ。売れたらどうしたって自信も。
Oh, Melt!
脚
The
本家の
yes
人が
man.
降ろされそうになってるんです。先生からアビコ先生を説得することはできませんか？
私もアビコ先生に思うところは死ぬほどある。舞台の人たち、もう少し向こうの事情も組んであげてもいいんじゃない？
先生が組みすぎなんじゃないですか？
え？
現場を信じて任せて京アマはこうなっちゃ
Wow.
ったんじゃないですか？私はこの世の創作物の9割はダ作だと思ってます。この世のクリエイターの9割は三流。自分の才覚だけ。他人を信頼しすぎなんです。次は強く出ていいんじゃないですか？先生、アニメ化が決まったんです。単行本も1000万部突破で、なんかすごい賞ももらえるって連絡が。
Talking to someone in the same field as you could come up as bragging.
同業者として何も思わなかった。
先生は私の師匠ってずっと思ってます。
私が味方をしてあげないと。原作をいじられることに不満を持つアビコ先生の気持ち。仕事にケチつけるの得意じゃなくて、メディアミックスは割と全部お任せしちゃう主義の人だけど、アビコ先生と同じ。できることなら愛を持ってキャラに触れてほしい。自分の子供みたいなものなんだからさ。舞台のスケジュールとか押してるのも知ってるんだけど、この件に関しては力になれないかな。
あ、無理なことを言ってしまって。
わかりました。でも一つだけ。アビコ先生に渡してもらえませんか？
Is it to go see Goa's other show? Like
Maybe.
tickets to it or something?
健康中なのでこちらからすみません。
そっちの締め切りって昨日じゃなかった？
Missing deadlines?
オーバーしてるの？
はい。
Wow.
ごめんなさい、汚い部屋で。
汚いってレベルじゃないでしょ。こんなんでアシスタント呼べるの？
今アシスタントいないんで。
Wow.
手
No
前柄
assistance?
合わせてくれないし、感情表現全然できてないし、自分で書いた方が早いからクビにしました。
寝てるの？
一応毎日2時間は寝てるので、まあなんとか。今日
Wow.
はデッドなので寝てないですけど。
それ死ぬわよ。もっとリアルに言うならうつ病リタイアコース。舞台の脚本は？
ああ、それもありましたね。
手伝うわ。適当に背景埋めるからね。
座っててください。
言ってる場合じゃないでしょ。ああ、もうなんだこの書き込み量。習慣でなおかつ一人でやる密度じゃないでしょ。アシスタント雇いなさい。
編集にも言ってるんですが、使えそうな人持ってこないんで。
襟好みしすぎなだけじゃないの？アシスタントは育てるものでしょ。
そんな余裕はないです。ちょっと厳しく言ったらやめるし。
絶対ちょっとじゃないでしょ。こんな生活はダメよ。多少妥協しても人間らしい生活をしなさい。
You need to live like a
そ
human.
の作品は妥協したら終わりなんです。から見放されます。
そんなことないでしょ。やり方が悪いだけ。
先生に何がわかるんです
Oh
か？
少な
no.
くともこれは間違ってる。まっとうなコミュニケーションから逃げてるだけじゃないの？自分がうまくやれないのを人のせいにしてるようにしか見えない。回り回って自分の首を絞めるのよ。
そういうの5000万部売ってから言ってもらえます。ちょ
ようになったわね。かは今この業界にほとんどいない。本当に無敵の返しよ。確かに私はあんたほど売れてない。でも悪いけど私の方が面白いまで。
Oh!
あんたのセンスに頼り切った目新しい感じの漫画は確かに読者には本質的にエンタメではない。はあ、出た読者にこびた展開をエンタメと勘違いして紋切り型のありふれた展開を王道だと思い込んだ古いやり口。最近のトーブレがまさにそれでしょ。
Oh shit!
こび始めた12巻以降
Pandering to readers in volume
Oh
12.
my god!
You're pandering to them.
Well, you bowed to what's popular with readers!
ひどい。答えようと頑張ってる。
Yo.
売れっ子様が読者の意見でブレちゃいましたか。あんたにエンタメ叩き込んだの誰だか忘れたか。
Oh shit!
The training that she did.
先生こそ牙抜けちゃったんじゃないですか。今日アマのドラマまあひどかった。あんなの許しちゃってプライドないんですか。言われるのが一番腹立つ。みんなそれぞれ必死に仕事してんだ。すれば理想でしょうけどね。
Someone outside of it, you know?
忘れちゃったかもしれないけどね。3本書けば2本はつまんない漫画あげるじゃない。他人の仕事には常に名作を求めるなんて虫のいい話。
Oh.
You always demand
で
masterpieces.
も先生のドラマは任せすぎ。先生が陰キャなら私はどうなるんですか。漫画がなければ社会不適合なただの引きこもりです。自宅にキャスト呼んでご飯会とかしてるらしいじゃないですか。ずるいこの陽キャ。それくらい私は先生みたいに他人とうまくやれないんです。私だって本当は。黙ってペン入れ進めなさい。先生こそ背景なんていつぶりに書くんですか。出たらボツ出しますからね。なめんじゃないわよ。何年プロやってると思ってんの。
That was amazing.
That was great.
That was outstanding.
毎度疑問なんですが、今週こそやばいっていつも思いながら、どうしてなんでしょうね。
でも私たちは商業漫画家だからでしょ。
先生のところも締め切り間際はひどかったですからね。
今日間の時は本当にごめんなさい。今は割とホワイトよ。
私もごめんなさい。マルチタスクで頭わかんなくなってて、たくさん。
いいわよ。私も大概だし、よそであれ言ったら速攻で縁切られるから気をつけなさい。
どうしたら人とうまくできますか。
歩み寄りなさい。
Meet them
メディアミックスは
halfway.
他人との共同制作ことの集合体なんだから。私の作品がつまんなくなったわけじゃないもの。エッケモンくらいに思えばいいのよ。
でも私は今日アマのドラマ嫌でしたよ。先生の作品はもっとすごいのに。今日からお世話になります。あまり上手くないですけど精一杯頑張ります。先生みたいな漫画家になるのが夢で、世界一面白いです。好きな作品汚されるのは絶対に嫌なの。それが一番よくわかってるんです。
思ったことをすぐ口にするのが良くないのよ。不器用な子。
Aqua's performance.
あ Aqua's
あのドラマ、私はやってよかったって思ってる。
There's pieces of it, you know?
Yeah. Individuals that were amazing in that are in
東記
your
憶のアクア君からあなたへ
version.
って。舞台の脚本書くなら参考になるかもし
Yeah. Okay, that was Oshi No Ko Season 2, Episode 3. That entire back and forth between Abiko and Yoriko was everything. That was so entertaining.
I imagine that something like that in terms of writing dialogue would be challenging. To write an entertaining banter, back and forth argument, roast between people who actually really love each other, but they're still in a place emotionally that they are cutting at each other with their
Yeah.
words. To write it where you can still, as a viewer, feel that they love each other and that they'll be able to get past this, but also be able to understand and see their emotional states, and
Yeah.
that these things are hurting or are cutting pretty deep. I think that was probably pretty hard to write.
Yeah, and the content of what they were saying to each other too. I don't think you necessarily have to experience the success that Abiko does to be able to have the outside perspective of what a mangaka might feel like after that success at that young of an age, and getting that complex about themselves that when pushed into a corner, they'd say, well, how the fuck would you know? You've never sold this many. I'm at a different pedigree. I'm at a different standard. I don't think that you necessarily have to achieve such heights to be aware of that perspective. However, if you're able to write it within this much detail and both as both perspectives as the mangaka or author or writer of Oshi No Ko did here, like, think about the inevitability of you're putting this forward into your work, both different perspectives. You publish this work, it has great success, it then produces an anime if it was originally a manga. How would you, like, you'd be like, okay, well, I sure as hell need to make sure my ego's in check, and I never get a big head because I wrote characters having faults within that, like, same situation. I have so much respect, and I'm just in awe of the writer of this series. It is mind-blowing because at the same time, you're also incorporating like so many vast different works, right? Not just mangaka, not just live action adaptions, but plays. Like in the beginning of this episode, sure, we didn't have much time actually seeing it in front of us. I'm sure we will within our own stage round play that will be going forward, but to be able to convey the, oh, I'm assuming that Abika will probably write this as if it was a high school play, versus the serious nature and complexity that Aqua's able to experience firsthand at this next level of production in stage round plays.
His nudge isn't necessarily that he is... I think that his nudge is really amazing with the fact that giving her these tickets is only a net positive. It either helps her figure out how to write it, or it helps her appreciate Goa.
Yeah.
Which either way is helpful to everyone that is a part of this collaborative work. You had brought up something that she had said during the fight in terms of like how many copies that she had sold.
Yeah.
And I think that what I liked the best about that conversation is it wasn't just her being like, I'm more popular, I am like working weekly and selling this many copies. It was, in essence, what we talk about in the beginning of this episode about complaining to people within the same field as you can be seen as bragging.
Mm-hmm.
The pressure and demand that she's under is what I feel like is being highlighted there. Like, you can't understand the stress that I am under at the moment. It's complaining about how, and then when we get like to the nitty gritty of it, we bring up the fact that she has relinquished creative control to that stress and demand by the fact that she is pairing characters that she doesn't want to pair together just for the audience's happiness.
You're right.
And I think that that is really amazing to have set this whole episode off with that idea just being given to us through Ruby, which I think is like great way to like keep Ruby in action in the story, even though she's not like a part of this play.
Yeah.
That we're starting this like theme for what this episode's about through Ruby.
I agree. I like in the intro, I'm like, man, I miss Ruby and would love to have more of her this season, but obviously we are at a different plot point. So it was a good way to incorporate her. I think it's so cool that Abiko is even made time to go see the play. That's how serious she's taking it. She has literally negative time. She is past deadlines, and I assume that she finished that work and then probably went to the play. But I did want to pose the idea that before going, one of the reasons that she might have rechecked in with Sweet today was hearing that Aqua was the one who gave the tickets and wanting to see him in that, and what reason or motive he might be having to giving her the tickets based off of his performance of Sweet Today and the complexities that went into, the positive and negative reception there.
Right, there's things that we don't see. We don't see necessarily what her immediate reaction to receiving these tickets is, where she'd be like, I don't have time for this, like, I'm super busy. We spent most of the episode talking about how she literally doesn't even have assistants.
Yeah.
And she is working on merchandise for the anime, like saying yes to things for the anime, her own like weekly publishing of her series. She's trying to rewrite this. She's extremely busy. You'd think she'd have absolutely no time for this. And so you would think that there would be, at first, maybe some pushback. I don't know, maybe having an emotional conversation with Yoriko and kind of like collapsing on the floor would lead her to more quickly accepting a gift. But we do see her watch the final episode of Sweet Today, which we know from the first season was the best episode of Sweet Today. And she's focused in that. Obviously, we know that Aqua did an amazing performance, but we know that Kana was just really good in that series as well.
Yeah.
And both Kana and Aqua are in this Tokyo Blade stage round play. And I feel like that would, if we're getting this idea throughout this whole episode of like reminding her consistently, you're an awkward girl, how to be social, extrovert, introvert, when she's watching Sweet Today and what she's seeing is two people, three really, but we're not going to talk about Melt. Sorry, Melt. That are going to be a part of making Tokyo Blade, the stage round play, a thing, a masterpiece, hopefully. That they will hopefully do their own like job well.
I want to know, I think the possibility lies on the table that within the conversation between Abiko and Yoriko, bringing up that plot point of the changing of romance ideas because of public reception and what your readers are wanting, right? If that combined with directly seeing Aqua's performance on Sweet Today with the tickets being given will reinforce her own confidence through collaboration to rewrite the stage around play with a different focus on who the romance is really about, what it's going to look like, and an added trust within Aqua to be able to convey that performance.
Right. Oh, honestly, this really creates a complexity that I hadn't previously foreseen. Like, I remember when we first got the idea, like, we first hear the information that, fans really ship these two characters together, and we saw Abiko, reacting to the script. I think both of us were kind of like, due to the opening and due to the fact that she was the one that wrote this and these are her children, these are her characters, she will probably want to create more of a focused script that is about Akane's character and Aqua's character and the fact that this is the true like love connection in this series. But to get the added complexity that she has fueled her own fans shipping of the wrong characters.
It could have easily been pulling the trigger way too soon, like she didn't let herself cook in that moment. Like she had ideas going forward, but at the first pushback, because of the mental state that you're in, you just like, okay, no, they're right. It will make them happy. They have a good idea.
It started small too. Like, I think that it was phrased in a way that's like she was just giving them more time together. That's not like romantic time, but just more page time, more interaction time, more moments where it was a little more focused on them getting to know each other, which doesn't necessarily have to be romantic for it to be fuel for people to want to put them together. And so, like, I'm sure in her own way, initially, she felt like, she might have even felt at first that it was fun. Yeah. Like, I'll just give them a scene of these two characters interacting again because they seem to like this pairing on the page.
Yeah.
Not thinking that, like, it might have, like, snowballed into people disliking the actual romantic pair.
I have a dream that Abiko will love the play, and because of not having anything to do now, Goa will be there, and they will both interact at the play.
Oh, that's so
fair. It would make my heart melt.
He
love
would
Mel.
go. Like, if he had just got kicked off a project and we saw him, his emotional state, like, obviously he's been in this business, so I feel like this didn't completely rock him like it could have rocked him. So I think that, you know, he will probably, in the same way that Ryda says that he likes to go to these things for motivation, he likes to see the faces of people leaving
Mm-hmm.
the theater and the smiles and or the kind of straight-faced reactions, whether if they didn't like it. I think that that's totally fair. I wasn't even really thinking about it of like, are we gonna bump into Goa here? Or will Goa see her? Will she see him?
It
Will
would
she
make
just see
me
the name?
so happy. It would make me so happy if they got along and they talked, and that Abiko was able to be a little more social because of that, and see that, you know, she can connect to people who are creative over things that just aren't manga, and it would make me so happy.
You know, that would bring back the opening of this episode.
Mm-hmm.
That would bring back the idea. I mean, not even just Ruby's scene, but Akane bringing Aqua to this show and kind of introducing Aqua to a new way. Like, when he brings up, like, I'm scared that Abiku's gonna write this like it's a high school play, that's because that's how he imagines what he's doing right now.
Before
He saw this awesome show that he saw. So, like, we get multiple examples of people in different businesses getting to interact about, like, a shared love of creativity.
Yeah.
And getting to see creations brought to life and collaborative effort.
I loved Akane's reaction to Aqua. It was
so
it was so amazing, and you nailed it. Like when you were bringing up the idea of somebody else sharing in something that you love,
Mm-hmm.
it's like 90% of the time that you show your friend the funniest video ever, that you're like, okay, that was funny, dude. Like, but in that 10% that they're like, oh my god, like we're on the same wavelength and we totally get it, like, and they laugh with you. That's the best feeling in the world.
You want that genuine, and I think that you can see through Abiko when we see her in like this booth with Yoriko, and she's really excitable. She's like, Yoriko, like, I got like an anime. She's filling her in, which from the Ruby conversation we get the idea that, like, oh, if you talk about this sort of thing with people that are in the same field, they might see it as bragging. But we're seeing her coming from this genuine place of like, you're my mentor, I love you, I have no ill will towards bringing this up to you. And Yoriko's able to meet that with like a true understanding of like, she's not meaning to like brag to me right now. Like, she's excited. She knows that I love this too and care about her. And it just makes me think about when Akane is reacting to this person who's not in the field being so excited about a newfound love or appreciation. And then Ruby, I feel like it makes me sad for the characters that have an immense love for the thing that they enjoy. Like Ruby as an idol, I feel like she would want to go talk to other idols and be like, oh, I have a concert, you have a concert, let's support each other. And the idea that these characters could be pushed into the shell of never getting to actually share their love with people that love the same thing.
Yeah.
Because it could be seen as ill intent. That's a very sad and isolating experience. Like, you have to keep your joy to yourself.
Yeah.
Just because, like, other people won't realize your intentions or won't want to celebrate with you. Like, I would say, like, for the most part, like, if someone genuinely cares about you, they're going to want to celebrate with you, even if they are working in the same field and might possibly be a competitor.
Yeah. I loved when Yoriko told Abiko, like, don't talk like this to just anybody. They'd leave. Like, I'm your sensei, I'm your mentor, but also your friend. Like, we can talk like this. I liked that social distinction. I wonder if Abiko, after watching the play, will be like, I'm fucked. Like, I'm way in over my head, or will be like a doubling down of confidence. But I imagine it being a little more open-minded of like, holy shit. Like, the sentiment of what Aqua was saying. Like, this is not what I thought it would be.
I think that if she had a very clear schedule, if she had more open time and wasn't so busy, then as a viewer, I might theorize that after seeing this show, she might be able to write something that's good.
I just
if she had the time.
She doesn't.
But she doesn't
She doesn't have
the time.
assistance. Jesus Christ.
And so, therefore, she either needs to get assistance and, like, obviously, regardless, she needs to get assistance. She needs that. She needs to sleep more than 2 hours a day. She needs that. She needs to, like, even if they're not as good as you, it's not like, I know she was like, oh, the backgrounds were the thing that she was nitpicking, I think, for the assistants, which is really interesting because when she meets Yoriko for the first time, she identifies that that is her weakest suit. So I wonder if that's why she's hyper fixated on it with assistants. Like, she doesn't want to do it because she thinks of it as her weakest, but she's holding them to a standard that she probably doesn't even believe she could meet.
Can you imagine if somebody came up to Abiko and was like, I am in love with your manga. Tokyo Blade is the best writing and story that I've ever experienced. I'm not great at backgrounds, but this is amazing and I'm so excited to work with you. 24 hours later, you fucking suck. Get out of here. I don't want you to work here. Like, in that same way that Abiko went up to Yoriko as, like, a new manga artist and, like, being so infatuated with the story. Imagine if Yoriko was like, you're not up to par, dude. Like, fuck off. Like, that must be heartbreaking for the people who weren't able to help with what they wanted to for Abiko.
Fair. The people that were brought to her to work as assistants, they probably idolized her and were very excited to work with her. I mean, some of them, obviously. I think that another reason why Yoriko had, like, more leg to stand on with some of her retorts is that she was using the fact that they know each other. Yoriko was able to use things that she knows that Abiko really feels.
Yeah.
Like the fact that Abiko, we get the scene of her introducing herself and she says that Sweet Today was the most entertaining manga that she has ever read. And, like, yes, she retorts with, like, oh, your manga's filled with these twisted cliches that are, like, probably easily predictable. That has nothing to do with how entertaining it is.
Yeah.
And so Yoriko's like, well, at least my manga's more entertaining. And it's like, she has something to stand on there because she knows that Abiko actually feels that way. Yeah.
Man, I could never, ever in my life have a weekly manga. That shit, from everything that I've ever heard and the idea of it, is the most mentally draining. One of the best parts of this episode was that second editor's job, right? Make it never end. Never let it end.
The second, what are the two jobs an editor does?
Yeah, like the idea of just being pushed to the degree that at first you're probably extremely aware of what that second job is and that they are trying to push you, and because of being aware of it you have sanity. But after week after week after week, when you get more and more tired and draining, I think you become less aware of the situation that you're in, and it becomes a lot more like people leeching or predatory behaviors, and you're exhausted physically and mentally, and you just hear about so many mangaka's health in once they hit 40 and 50, and how it's taken a toll on them, their early work and their early scheduling. God.
It makes me think of, like, I haven't read a lot of manga and I haven't, like, finished any series, but I can identify, at least for, like, romance manga, like, there's always this volume 28, like, a really, like, down the line volume of a romance manga has the wedding dress shot. They're gonna get married now. And I've only ever watched, like, the anime series for some of those shows, and I'm always like, that ended in a pretty good place where I feel like the plot of the story, probably if it had gotten a second season or something, would have felt like the story that was being told had happened.
Yeah.
And I always wonder, I've never read it, like, how does it feel to read that romance story from the point where, all of the misunderstandings are cleared up. We finally get the couple together, and now we're gonna get them all the way through a relationship and then to a wedding day so that we can sell. And they're always like a big seller, I think. Like the wedding dress cover, like the marketing of it.
Yeah.
Like, oh, this character that you've been reading all this time, here's the special wedding dress cover. And I always wonder, like, does it feel... It's probably different depending on series, but I think it fits with that conversation. Like, how do readers feel? Can they notice if a mangaka is being forced to continue a story and just let it, like, you know? Like,
yeah,
oh,
I'm
easy
sure.
now.
I'm sure a lot of it depends on the success of the manga, but also the genre, right? Like, or not even the genre. Let's say like weekly versus monthly releases. I think that within weekly releases, inherently by the nature of not having time to think about the large overarching story and the situation that you're in, it's a lot easier to be, okay, what's next? Versus monthly being able to have, okay, well, this is where I want it to end. Like, I think it would be easier to get into the habit of being more, like, serialized and, like, okay, well, what's the next arc? Okay, your arc's coming to an end right here. I can see the closing, but we have to make sure that we're incorporating the next antagonist by dropping some hints about what that next arc's about, right? Make sure you do that this week, rather than being like, I have the time to sit back and think of, would this really feel like a good ending?
How
you know?
can I pace this out so that there's longevity to it and I'm not rushing things, but I'm also able to keep it entertaining? I think that another a possible issue you could come up with for the monthly is that, you know, if you're only coming out with something monthly, then whatever you're coming out with needs to have, like, impact to some degree, right? Of like,
Maybe.
moving the story along.
Maybe. Like at the end of the day, like, you would be appeasing the people who are reading it then monthly, like the people who are already caught up, rather than the people who are reading the work as it already exists. Like, if I went to a Barnes and Noble or Books A Million and saw a series with, I don't know, like 5 volumes and caught all the way up and then was waiting monthly and monthly and monthly, then I feel like, well, that exists currently, I know, for a couple manga. But, like, I don't know. I've seen all of Naruto. I've seen all of Naruto Shippuden. I've seen a bit of Boruto and then started reading the manga. I got caught up to 2 Blue Vortex. I think I've only... Okay, sorry, sidebar. I've only ever read, like, Hunter x Hunter, Dragon Ball, and Naruto. I think that's it in terms of manga. I probably am wrong, but within that, 2 Blue Vortex, right? I'm probably wrong here, but I think it might release monthly. And if that's the case, I feel like you're right in the fans' reception, or at least what I have talked with like 2 of my friends about. Like, oh man, monthly, it's grueling that this release is just all dialogue, or it doesn't have
like
any
you had
big...
to wait for it.
But I don't think that... I'd hope that the author wouldn't feel that pressure, because I think it would affect the story negatively.
Right, like you're right to bring up this idea that, like, the perception of a manga could totally change from if you were a consistent reader up to date to one that has all of the volumes, or at least a big chunk of the volumes, on a shelf, and they are getting to just read it at their own pace.
Yeah.
And those scenes of dialogue, you know, to them might feel like a breath of fresh air, because they didn't have to, like, I don't know, they weren't just like sitting on pins and needles, like impatiently waiting for whatever thing that you were gonna make it worth their weight. Worth the wait.
Their pacing would be in line with the narrative and the story, versus their pacing being attached to their real life time.
Their feelings.
Yeah, exactly.
Interesting.
Yeah.
We
went on a tangent, sorry.
I think it was related. I think it definitely talking about the business and how readers or viewers would feel is totally...
Now I'm like, what manga have I read? I think I've read Soul Eater. Do I have Mal still? Sorry, you can go on your point.
So one thing that I wanted to bring up, which was just, I think that Melt is being given a good amount of love.
I know.
Right now. And I think that something I really appreciated is that we're having consistency with what he put forth already, like vulnerably so. Like he was pretty vulnerable and real with what he put forth that he did not need to do. And it's because he wants to grow. It's because he wants to actually be good and not just be pompous and have a filled head ego that has nothing to back it up with. Like he wants to actually be a part of a collaborative work and not be the loose wheel. Like he wants to be good. And I think that when we get the scene of Kana bringing up, you know, the power of the yes man and how negative an impact that had on her life and how long it took for her to kind of like get over the effects, the after effects of like having that. And then he kind of chimes in and is like, yes, exactly. And it's like, it's cute because we get Kana realizing like last episode, like really, I think she takes a moment where she's like, okay, I get you, Melt.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. And then we know from like the previous episode that had taken place, you know, after the conversation we saw last episode, that she's building up a little friendship with him.
Yeah.
And so like the fact that they can bond over this, that both of their careers could have been both of their careers, but also their relationship with other creatives that they worked with could have been much better.
Yeah.
And their careers for it if they hadn't been like having Yes Man in their corner all the time.
Do you think that Melt and Yoriko will ever like come to a understand? Okay.
It's possible. I think
it's funny, and that like I want that bit to be played up more because it's like, oh my god, but like at the same time, like Melt, he deserves a second chance.
I think that the second chance is, it's honestly the only reason I would say narratively that we have Melt involved here is the fact that this is Yoriko's assistant's, like ex-assistant's work of art.
Yeah.
That Melt is now working on. And I think that that is the reason narratively that we have Melt here even more so. And I think that that gives potential for this is the second chance, because Yoriko is very much caring about Abiko and wanting Tokyo Blade and the stage around play to succeed. And I think seeing Melt grow and that he is now putting forward he was putting forward his best effort, quote unquote, then, because he was being told that he was being filled with the idea that he was, and he believed it. And when she sees him like really trying and putting forward hopefully an amazing performance, I think that she will soften on him.
I like that. So I pulled up my Mal.
To see what like manga you've read?
Yeah, I'm sure that this isn't necessary. This has a pretty good chance at not being all of them, but other than Dragon Ball, Naruto, Hunter x Hunter, I've read Bloom Into You, I've read Whisper Me a Love Song, and I've read Long Riders, and Soul Eater, and then Soul Eater Not. I think that's all the manga I've read. I could be wrong, though.
My Love Story with Yamada-kun?
My Love Story with Yamada-kun, I read, I did not finish.
Oh, okay.
I'm not caught up. The ones that I listed, I was either finished or caught up.
Finished or caught up, gotcha. Just a quick little funny thing. I have like almost like a, just like, I don't even want to call it a trauma response from the prologue of this series, but when I see Ai in the opening smiling and then we see her face at the end of the opening, I get like emotional.
Yeah,
I have
definitely.
like a visceral emotional reaction in that moment, and I'm like, that prologue, I mean, it's gonna go down in history as being something like
one of the most monumental first pieces of a story.
Getting me emotionally attached to a singular character in the way that I am.
Yeah.
That the fact that we don't spend much time with her. I mean, honestly, it did its job. Like, we follow two characters that are in the same boat with us in terms of they have this significant emotional connection to this character that is no longer an active part alive in the story, but is more a memory. And it is doing that for me when I even just see her face and I'm like, okay.
I just don't like, in the back of my mind, every time I see it, I'm like, I hope we never go full circle or get close to it, you know, with like what happened to an idol such as I. All right, that's all I have. You?
Yep.
Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and we hope to see you next time.